Okay, well, I enlisted in the Marines in 1942, right after Pearl Harbor, 17 years old, and 111 pounds. And I enlisted in the recruiting office here at Burlington. They sent me to Raleigh for physicals, and at Raleigh they said I was too small, too underweight, and 111 pounds, and that they would like to discuss it. And they discussed it. And they asked me if I really wanted to go in. I said I absolutely did. But I always wanted to be a fighting devil dog. And so I'd read stories about them many years, and all down through my younger life, I always had a thing about what the Marines did, what they were about, what they were for. So this was in Raleigh. They give me physicals and says, well, we might can get you through if your parents will sign. I said, well, my parents have already signed. And I then told them that I would like to go. So they got a waiver. They told me that night to be at the railway station in Raleigh to report. And I said, the railway station? I said, the Marines usually go down to Paris Island on a bus. They said, but you're not going to Paris Island. I said, where am I going? They said, you're going to San Diego, California. Well, I'd never been out of North Carolina in my life. Never seen California. Thought that I get lapse of memory here. I'm going to get out of breath. Well, I thought that Pearl Harbor was on the coast of California, but I found out later that it wasn't. So I had never been out of the state of North Carolina, never seen the ocean, not even the Pacific or the Atlantic. So here I was going to California on a train that took 4 days and 5 nights, which that in itself was interesting. I never thought I'd ever go that far in my whole life. And arrived in California and was sent to San Diego for recruit training. After that I went to Camp Pendleton for advanced training, and I had no idea where I was going from there, but they trained me in special weapons, mostly light aircraft, anti-aircraft, and anti-tank. And they sent me to New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand. There, we were going to sort of a ring of defense there, because the Marines had already hit Guadalcanal. So I was there, and we went to Auckland, and then from Auckland, a little town called Pukekohe. And Pukekohe, we threw up our defenses. The Japanese never came, so we went from there to, we were known as the 9th Special Weapons Battalion. And we went from there to Guadalcanal to assist with whatever was still left. And there was some training, some of the war was still going on, especially anti-aircraft type. And then after that, we formed this 3rd Division of the Marines there on Edgewater Canal, and shipped them there to Bougainville. That was my first major battle, Bougainville. And from there came back to Water Canal, and there we drew more weapons and realigned and formed this. Well, of course, we formed this 3rd Division. Then that was 3rd Division. And I went from there to Guam in the Marianas Islands and made D-Day at Guam there. But again, and from that, I've been over there quite a while. I was in the Marines. You could serve in several battles, but you didn't have one major battle. That was a whole group battle. And of course, in the Army it's different. It's a battle, a battle, a battle, I think. Well, anyway, we didn't have time to think about too much about it. And that was called when we went over there, the Tar Heel Division of the United States Marines. And not division, Tar Heel Platoon, excuse me. And then after Guam, they sent me back for a short while. And I was back here when Roosevelt died. And then they sent me back shortly after that to Guam, and I joined the 6th Marine Division. They just come up off Nall, and from there we were going to make an attack on China, and the war ended while we were at sea going to China. And Japanese got us into docks, and they were armed and we were armed. And they called it the occupation of China. And we had a formal surrender there that was very different from the one in Japan. But as it was more like the one in Lee and Grant there at the racetrack there. Well, they call it Tsingtao then. It's Qingtao now. And their general, the White Horse, and our officers and all that, and they stacked the arms. And their general put his sword across the table, our general, and then they surrendered. And then we stayed there for a while and helped to turn our arms over to Chiang Kai-shek, and we used against trained his men for use against the communists coming down from the north. And after a while there, and most of the guys had gone back home again, we had leaflets dropped on us for the communists, told us to get out or die. So we turned ourselves in to the Swiss embassy, and we put on an old tramp ship to Pearl Harbor. And Pearl Harbor sent back home. That time it was 1946, and I was just discharged there. Well, we came in. Each time we went out from San Diego, came back to San Francisco. This was my second time there. And there, I was sent back to, well, I was there in San Francisco, and they mustered us out, sent us back to I believe it was, I don't remember, Atlanta somewhere. Gave us $100 mustering out pay, and we could there take a ticket home on a bus. There was a whole lot of places in there, but that's the major happenings in my life. And I remember Shunkai Sheik, I remember his wife, I remember all those people there in China. And we were called Occupation of China. Well, that's what was doing. Discharged as a major operation.
JC, if you will, that's an excellent summary, and I just wonder if there are things that stand out in regard to what you just said to me.
Yes.
That really kind of stick in the craw, things that are left you with the greatest impressions while you were a Marine.
Well, there was an incident there in China where I was on duty at a Japanese hospital there after we occupied everything. And they said something to me about this doctor did about being sort of nasty to the nurses. And I said, well, I didn't especially love them because they tried to feed me boiled peanuts. And I didn't love boiled peanuts. And he says, well, what can I do to make you a little more comfortable? I said, I don't know whether you can or not, because I fought y'all in the Pacific. And he says, well, can you get me a harmonica? Of course, they interviewed me in the Evan paper one time since then, and I said French harp. Up in the mountains where I came from, they were called French harps, not used harp or anything like that kind of thing, but it was really harmonica. And so I told my new guy that had a couple, maybe plumbers one. So the next day I came in, I handed it to him. He said, now I want you to sit down over here, and I'm going to play you a tune. And he says, now make yourself comfortable. I said, well, I'm already comfortable. He says, well, I'm going to play you this tune I think you'll like. And he played Dixie. Well, I couldn't hate anybody who played Dixie anymore. So I felt a little bit different about it. But he told me he got his doctorate degree in the University of, he said Michigan, there somewhere up there before the war. And he said he never, in combat against us, I said, still you was on the other side. But we became friends.
Well, that's good.
And there was there's several more things. When Guam was out on patrol, and this is after the battle was over. These two Japanese, it was three, had one was on one side of the road, on the other, had a white flag waving, and wanted to retire. Well, they wanted to surrender. They didn't usually do everything, surrender too much. But anyway, the commanding officer on my unit commander there was on the Jeep with us. He told me to pile off one side, and the other guy that's back there with the enlisted man come off on the other side, and to take them. Well, I did that when I went off. They come out back there, and I motioned for them to take their clothes off and everything, remove them, and we got on the Jeep. Got up on the Jeep, they started laughing. One Jeep, it was one of those little recon Jeep, and he says, and I sat around, I said, what's so funny? And my unit commander says, well, I think it's rather funny too. I said, what's funny? He says, well, he says, look down to your right. There's one of these little M1 RVs, and I didn't even have a clip in it. I took a surrender. Got a clip.
That's
One
good
of the
stuff.
significant things, I think, was when you was at Bougainville, when you lost so many men and they sent you home.
Oh,
You
well,
didn't tell
yeah.
that part.
At Bougainville, Battle of Bougainville, we were only supposed to take a mile of each here and turn it over to the Army. I believe it was the 1st Cavalry Division. And of course, they didn't come in 30 days. It was 60 days before they come out, I think, somewhere like that. And they relieved us, and they put us back aboard the ship, and we had to go up over cargo nets. That's before you about break your neck getting off on it. And then we got word to disembark. I said to myself, what in the world is all that? But back there, they had overrun them, and we had to go back in there. And their commanding officer wanted us to put up barbed wire before we left again. And I told myself, why barbed wire? We don't even carry such a thing. Besides, I don't even have any gloves. Well, we had to do it for him. And later on, I met a guy that I worked with here in Burley that had been over there. It was an Army unit. And I said something to him about it. He said, y'all didn't do a thing in the world except make them mad. And when you got off, they just come and jumped all over us. And I said, well, you weighted down with barbed wire.
What I was talking about is when you was in the group with just about all of them lost their lives, and they sent you home to sell war bonds.
Well, that's the reason I came home to Guam. I was the last surviving member of the unit there left on Guam by the sorry, that's about all I'm getting out of breath.
And they sent you home to sell war bonds.
They sent me home. I thought I would stay a little bit
Send
up.
it back.
I was a little bit upset. Yeah, I think I would have never had to go home, except the fact that they put me on the rifle range down Paris Island. Remind you, I was just enlisted. And this warrant officer asked me to detail a private to Horse's automobile. And I told him where to go. And he
told everybody.
And he said, you'll be sorry. So Monday morning, I was on the list to go back to the unit, go back over. So I spent most of my time over there. There were several skirmishes and battles I don't want to talk about with nobody.
Well, JC, I personally want to thank you for your service. Let me tell you, it's because of men like you and many others that we can sit here and talk about these things right now. And so I'm extremely appreciative of your service and many others. And I had a brother who was a Marine. He was proud to be a Marine. He was in those islands
So
too.
he's still a Marine.
He's still a Marine. That's right. Always a Marine.
Yeah.
And so I just want to thank you. And I appreciate your time here today. And I just say God bless you. And God bless so many others who've done so much to provide for us what we now have.
Now, I did have a little rough when I came home because, I don't know, I just felt like I was a believer when I went over. And the Lord never already baptized thing, but I felt like I committed every sin there was in the world. One night I came to Mom and Dad's room. I was walking in my sleep. I do a lot of walking in my sleep. Just buried on my mind. And he said, I had butcher knife for me. Took it away from him. And he says, what you do with that butcher knife? I said, I'm going to take out a few chaps. And then I knew I got to do something. So I got together with this young preacher from Chapel Hill that started Fairview Baptist Church, which I was charter member, 17th member, big church now. And he told me, you'll just talk about it a little bit. You'll get it off your chest some. And then the Lord saves you. The Lord expects you to do what you can for your country, regardless of who's leading it. You're supposed to do it for your country. And I didn't feel like all the killing and all that. Well, there's some light machine gun most of the time. There was a lot of that. But I went down there and enlisted, and I talked to him about it. The Lord, I think, forgave me. I don't think I know he forgave me all my. What do you take? You take King David. He did every sin there was, but the Lord considered him chosen
Man after his own heart.
man. I'm now a elder with a Evan Gospel. I had my last elder meet at home before I had this last touch. And they all came to my house and met. Great. And I'm also chaplain for the Marine Corps League here at Burlington. And I'm real proud of that. And I've laid flat on my back and tried to do some of my work several times. I've been in the hospital. And they've got a young man, not a young man, no younger than I am, they're assisting me. It's helped me a whole lot. And I've done what I could flat on my back. But it's getting worse. It's almost unbearable. But comes the time I have to keep fighting. My children want me to keep fighting and keep trying. Me, I said, Lord, I'm ready. But they want me to get in there and fight. I said, well, he wants me to do it. I'll do all I can. Children, but he's going to take me when he's ready for me anyway.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the CBs.
Well, on Bogeyville, well, I met the CBs there at boot camp because they used to say rifle range when we did. But at Bogeyville, the CBs were building that strip there. I'm not sure. I think they call it Cape Torquina. But anyway, they were these kind of people. They were. You can see one out there on the motor grader with snipers shooting at him, and see him fall off, and the motor grader still going. Somebody yank his body off, and they get another crawls in his place, and they keep it going. Now, that's the type of men they were. They had capability of doing such as that.
And they were building those strips, obviously, for...
Out of coral there, coral rock.
And
What it is.
and what was that motto that we talked about?
If the, oh, you mean,
That statement.
what they had on their sign was,
Yes.
they put on their sign there at the end of the strip, if the Marines up to Tokyo ever go, then they'll be on the strip that the sea beach builds. That was putting a little fun at us.
There were some brave guys.
They were, and not only that, at night, when they were really getting started on it, they had them all out on a little island off the coast of the point there. And they said it was safer up there on the front than it was there. They'd come up there, and I had two of them at a time sometimes. They'd be out there with a machine gun at night. They said it was safer there. I didn't think it was too safe there.